The string format method is a very powerful and useful tool. You'll see it used a lot and you will use it a lot. It looks like this. Let's start by assigning a couple of variables. A and B equals 5 and 42. And then we'll print them out. If I were to just say print A comma B like that, then we get the numbers. But that's not terribly useful or descriptive, and you might want to look at it more like this. You might want to say this is, and put in a placeholder, and that is, and put in another placeholder, and then use the format method and say A and B. And now you get a string that says this is 5 and that is 42. So this is what the format method does. It allows you to put placeholders in a string and then replace those placeholders with values and return a new string. It's important to note that the string that's returned is a new string. Strings are immutable in Python. So this string is an entirely different string than that string. So if I had a string that just had this in it, do a copy and paste here and say S equals and put that in it. Now I have that string. If I just look at S, that's what's in it. If I say S.format A comma B, I get a new string. So the ID of S is this. And if I say new equals S.format A comma B, and look at the ID of that, I have a different ID. Those are two entirely different strings. So format returns a new string. It's also important to note that format is new as of Python 3. Format was not available in Python 2. In Python 2, things were done differently. In Python 2, you might have done something like this. This is %t, that is %d, and then use a percent operator and have A and B. So this was overloading the percent operator, and it was using C-style format strings. And it was just felt that this is obsolescent and it needed to be replaced with something more powerful, and that's what happened in Python 3. The format method is more powerful, it's a more consistent syntax, and it's actually a lot easier to use. One thing in particular that you can note here is that using this old way, you needed to know a type. This %d represents a decimal type. In using this new way, it uses the repr method, R-E-P-R, to look at the value and decide what type it is and print it out based on its types. So you don't need to know what type the variables are in order to use format. Another thing worth noting is that this method that we're using here, and this gets used a lot in this course, and you'll see it a lot in new code, with the bare curly braces, is actually new in Python 3.1. In Python 3.0, you needed some sort of a indicator inside of the curly braces, a positional indicator or a name indicator, and we'll look at how those work in a moment. But in Python 3.1 and later, you don't need anything inside of those curly braces, and it simply takes the positional arguments based on their order. So if I wanted to print A and B in the opposite order, I would actually have to put them in the opposite order in the format. I would have to change them here and say B comma A, and then I would get 42 and 5. On the other hand, if I wanted to, I could say 1 here and 0 here and not change their order, and it will print them in the opposite order. So you can specify positional arguments inside the curly braces that will allow you, for example, if you wanted to print the same value several times, you could say this is 1 and that is 0, and this too is 1 dot format A comma B, and now I'm actually getting this 1 value twice and the 0 value once. So these numbers represent the positional order in which the arguments are provided to format. You can also use names. You can say this is Bob and that is Fred, and then name your arguments in format. Bob equals A, Fred equals B. And that can be useful. In fact, you could put them in a dictionary. D equals dictionary, Bob equals A, and Fred equals B, and then use that dictionary. This is Bob, and that is Fred, dot format, and you use this double asterisk to refer to the dictionary. So format is very powerful in this way, and in fact, it's an extremely rich language all on its own. The full documentation for format is available on the Python documentation website, and it has all kinds of ways that the data can be formatted and ways that you can specify type. It's an extremely rich language in its own, and it's actually more powerful or more flexible than the old way of doing things in Python 2. So that's format. These are the things about it that are essential to know in order to be able to use it. You can get a lot of power out of it just knowing what I've shown you here. And in fact, 9 times out of 10, this is all you're going to need in order to use format effectively.